Are you looking to explore new opportunities but you're afraid? Today we're talking about how to step out of your comfort zone and explore new opportunities on this episode of Coffee with Tea. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Tea. I am your host, Tanja Tyler, and I'm excited because we're going to be talking to Mr. Bob Maloney, and he's going to share his journey through this whole networking and reconnect with your community, and how it's unlimited, release his limited beliefs. So, without further ado, and we get into more of this conversation, I want to welcome Mr. Bob to the show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tanya. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on, sir. It's a pleasure to have you on. I love for people to really get to know who you are before we get into the conversation, because I found your story fascinating and how you sort of like stepped out of your comfort zone. So before we really dive into that conversation, can you tell a little bit about who you are and a little bit about how this pandemic sort of helped you shift into your new mindset of being open to networking and stuff like that? So
Sure, Tanya. So I spent 40 years in the accounts receivable management industry. I was in the debt collection business. I managed call centers. I was responsible for business process outsourcing and strategies, and I was always in operations. So I had a network, but I really wasn't building it or working on it. So I found myself furloughed in April of 2020 as a result of COVID. So I started looking for a job, and I was a little apprehensive and wondering how I was gonna, land on my feet. So I found myself, struggling actually to look for a job, and I encountered a franchise consultant, and out of that conversation, that it actually landed me in the spot where I am today. So at first I was very skeptical about being in business for myself. Didn't really know how I could put that together. And Steve helped me actually get through that. A gentleman named Steve Wars. And so in order to be able to be successful, I really had to throw myself out there. So I'm an introvert by nature. I am just as happy to be at home by myself. I don't need to be surrounded by people, and but what I've found is that if I give it a shot, I'm able to connect with people that I haven't met before, strike up conversation, and get to know them, and it's really been enlightening as far as what there is to learn out there.
I like I said, I just love your story because you had some preconceived notions, but you didn't let it like hold you back, and you were willing to try. So what advice would you give to people who are like afraid to step out of their comfort zone? What would your advice be to them?
I would probably put myself in a position where if I was talking to my younger self, I would say, listen, you just have to be bold and take the shot, because you never know where you're gonna end up. And if you never ask the question, you'll never get the answer.
Right. I love it. Like I said, you shared a little bit of story about how it gave you a new perspective and how you reconnected with your community, sort of like what we were going to talk about. So it's like, tell me a little bit about how the network has helped you, like I said, step out of your comfort zone, even with your neighbors that you live next, door, and how you reconnected with the community.
Well, actually, so as I was, getting more involved in networking and branching out, I reached out to the mayor of my town on LinkedIn, and he responded differently than just about anybody I'd reached out to on LinkedIn, and he replied with his cell phone number and his email, and offered to to try to help. So I reached out to him. We spoke one-on-one, and from there I was able to I told him I wanted to get more involved in the community. I've lived here for more than half of my life, and I never really took that step. So he kind of gave me some ideas. I got involved in a nonprofit that he sponsors. I paid more attention and started attending the borough council meetings and getting involved in some community events. And I joined the Rotary, the local Rotary, which was really enlightening to me as well.
Right. You were sharing with me, where you were saying your preconceived notions stopped you from really exploring. So
Yeah,
how
yeah, actually, yeah, I did not. I was, I was really, I was afraid to really jump in, and I really didn't think there was value in it. And I've found that there really is, and what I've learned from the people that I've met, and the relationships that I'm continuing to build is really astonishing to me. And you don't hit it off with everyone. That's for sure. But there are times where you do hit it off, and those relationships just builds a foundation for relationships to really flourish.
right, right, yeah. So, Mr. Bob, we're going to dive a little bit more into your, a little bit about your business, wherever you feel comfortable with. But when you're talking about reconnect with your community, what's one thing that you would recommend for those who are like I said, afraid to try something new? What would your advice be in going forward?
Um, well, for me, it was a matter of just coming to grips with the fact that what have you got to lose? Um, you you have to be comfortable in your own skin. I mean, and be comfortable with yourself, and recognize that people are they're generally going to accept you. And in business, everybody knows that people or buyers, they buy from people that they trust and that they like. Um, and if you just let yourself go, sometimes you'll be surprised at what you can find. I
Right.
mean, I mean, even this encounter, just being able to meet with you, Tanya, was a result of stepping out there, and I was probably more skeptical about even doing something like this. Why would someone want to watch me?
I always ask, like, why not? Because I said we always have something of value. That's what I'm really starting to understand. And I think, like you say, we have a whole network outside of our comfort zone. Is what I'm getting from you. So that's why I thought it was really important to connect with you.
Mhm. And what's also amazing is, so as the more that I've gotten involved in it, the folks that I have connected with, there's a lot of interconnections even between them. That 6 degrees of separation is not so far from the truth. And it's really interesting how some people that I knew in the past are connected to people that I've just gotten to know, and how the people that I've gotten to know are connected with one another, and it's really it's really been an interesting journey.
Right, right. And I want to take this moment to say, Bob has been dropping some nuggets. And again, if you're picking them up, we like you to hit that thumbs up, give us a like. We can also follow down with some questions if you have, about stepping out your comfort zone. We're going to talk about how, you transition, because like you said, you transition from, um, being in the working environment and now into the entrepreneur. So what have you've learned, or what's some of the lessons you've learned by taking this new journey that you're exploring?
Well, what I've tried to do is I've tried to leverage my experience from my past in starting my business. So my company today is expense reduction analyst. So I'm working as a consultant, helping businesses find opportunities to reduce their overhead and create cash flow. And by doing that, I'm applying my analytical skills, and I'm having to push myself out there, because it involves client acquisition and sales, and it's not a transactional sale. It is a long-term engagement. So it's really caused me to think through things and take a methodical approach. And and a lot of times I've got to put myself on the back burner because it really is the client that's important.
Right, right. So, Mr. Bob, I know we're getting down to like a few more minutes and stuff like that. But what's one thing that if nobody else understands anything that you're sharing from this interview today, what's the one thing you want them to take away from what you've learned?
Uh, if there's one thing, it's really that you have to take risks. You have to take risks, and if you do take risks, you're going to find that you don't win every time, but you will win some of the times. And when you do win, it's pretty rewarding. It really is, and it makes you feel good.
Right. So
And don't be
oh, go
afraid
ahead.
to don't be afraid to don't be afraid to fall either, because you just have to get right back up again.
Right, right. I like so you have a whole host of stuff like we talked about. It's like don't let your limits don't let your perceived limits define you. And I think that's a golden nugget. A lot of people just don't understand that.
Oh, absolutely. And you can't let the way that you look at yourself define how others see it. And you'd be surprised, just by going out and exploring and talking to folks, and getting to really understanding what they're all about. And to me, I learn more from doing a lot of listening. I really like to listen and ask questions and delve into to what other folks are doing, because I mean, honestly, that ends up helping me. Um, and I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, I wish you continued success. And before we close out, I want you to share where can people find more information about you, your services, and what you do.
Um, well, my website is expensereduction.com. You can find me in the area where it says find a consultant. I'm located in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, and my phone number is 610-686-8015. Feel free to call. Glad to help.
And and again, I want to say welcome, Bob, for sharing your insight today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's a pleasure talking to you, Tanya. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I also want to remind everybody who tuned in that please, feedback is always welcome. Emails if you have any guest or show ideas. If you enjoyed what Bob has dropped and you picked them up, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to continue getting the insight that he's, from what he's sharing and what those who come on before and after, please hit that subscribe button over there. And please remember, take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And we'll see you back here on another episode of Coffee with Tea. All right. Bye bye.